Alright, today I'm going to be talking about controlling the weather. So there are a lot of maps where you see a variety in the terrains to show different weather conditions. This map is islands, so you'll notice that sometimes the terrain of the islands is grass, sometimes it's grass too, and sometimes it's dirt, like you see here. So it's all still the same map, just has a different texture to it. Now, I mentioned before that a complete list of terrains in the game can be found in the new RMS guide. It's important to know what those terrains are, but it's also important to know how those terrains behave. A lot of terrains have the same functionality as other ones, and some don't. So, if you want a more detailed guide on exactly what type of objects you can and cannot place on a specific terrain, you can refer to this guide, which I will provide in the description. And this allows you to sort terrains based on what objects you can place on them, so you can see what terrains are indeed replaceable. Okay, so back to weather control. There are different ways to control the weather. I'm going to show the way standard maps handle it, as well as how I handle it for my own maps. So for standard maps, I'm going to showcase islands, and for the code here can be found in the game's DRS. You find islands, and immediately we see that this defines the seasons that will be created with a random structure. So how a random structure works, it has a start random and an end random, and a % chance to define each case. And once the case is defined, it can be used later on in the script. The sum of the percentages in a random structure should not exceed 100. If the sum of the percentages is less than 100, like you see here, they only add up to 60, then the remaining percentage is simply that none of the cases stated above are defined. And that is reflected down in the rest of the map. Like you see, here each season has a different terrain, and that's set up using an if structure, using the seasons that have been defined above. And notice that of the 3 seasons that have been defined above, only 2 are called out here. We have desert and alpine. And that means for the one that's not being called out, that's going to be included in the else case, along with the case if none of the 3 are defined. That leftover 40% that's not included here. So the tropical map case has not been called out as an attribute here, but later on in the map, it is used to specify jungle terrain as the primary forest. And all of these work together to form the terrains on the map. So that's the way standard maps handle it. Now we'll take a look at one of my own maps to show the difference. Okay, so this is the map. As you can see, it has seasonal variety, just like the last one. So let's take a look at the code for this map. Alright, as you can see, the seasons are defined using the exact same type of random structure, but the difference comes in here. So rather than specifying individual cases for each land and terrain statement, we've got constants set up for each of the cases. Now remember that a constant is set up with first the name that you want your constant to be associated with, followed by the number of their particular constant. So for example, in one case, the numerical constant for ground 1 is 0, or grass 1, and in another case, it's constant 9, or grass 3. And once those constants are set up, they can be used throughout the rest of the script. So that means instead of creating a specific terrain in a land or terrain statement, you can use the constant's name, and that will change based on what season is defined. Okay, so that's about the gist of controlling the weather. Whichever of these methods works for you is entirely your choice. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.